Now, we've been talking about pioneers of this industry, Mac and Dwayne and Jewel, and I never thought that I would be, or that people of this current working generation would be pioneers. You guys figured it out, and then we took it and ran with it. And then COVID hit. And we had to be pioneers again. We had to figure out how to do this business. I can't work from home. I could work from home. A producer of the 11 o'clock news could live in Dallas, Texas? Yes, and we figured it out. So thanks to the foundation you guys provided, we continue to be pioneers. To explain a little bit about how WTVT dealt with this situation is our new, you're still new. He's still a rookie, Jewel. Our main anchor, please welcome the one and only Mark Wilson.
Thank you, CB. Appreciate it. Thank you for all you're doing today to keep us on track. 25 years for me in September. Can you believe that? Thank you, Dave Boylan. Where's Dave? I got to see Dave a little bit earlier. Thank you, Dave. I was one of Dave's first hires. Cynthia followed, and then Charlie Belcher. So Dave, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, huh?
I'm gonna smack you.
So here it comes. I know. When we look back, though, I know I can speak for a lot of those who, I know even a lot of our off-air folks have done some on-air in the past. Tell me it wasn't a dream at some point in your life to be able to do what we do from home. We all thought about that, didn't we? Of course we all thought about it, until we had to do it. And at that point we realized, oh my goodness, if ever we needed that table right there, it was in the last 2 years. And I will never forget, March 24th was the day, just barely 2 years ago, was the first night, and I went home, and Hoffman looked me in the eye and said, "Can you do it?" I said, "Well, of course I can do it. It's going to happen." And that night, it was a Tuesday night, and I anchored the entire 10 o'clock newscast from my phone. And I only did that because of some technology, and the direction from an incredible support staff that we have still at Fox 13, which I'm very, very proud of. Steph, of course, a big part of that. Thank you, Steph. And I remember, I think Steph was the last person, as I'm walking out the building scrambling, I literally left the 6 o'clock news and it was 7:15. You remember, she said, "No, I think we can do this. There's this app," and she showed me how to do it, and I had never seen it. I'm fairly technically driven, so I thought I had a good handle on it. And I go home, do the newscast that night, and I thought, well, here we are. Well, fast forward for me, just a couple of weeks later, I had a broadcast camera in my home, had a couple of lights, thanks to Mike Howson, a little bit of direction. We ended up putting a TV behind my screen. 545 hour-long newscasts I anchored from my house over 15 months. And I was just one of more than 200 employees at the time who needed to get out of the building. And when I say get out of the building, you guys remember 2 years ago, we needed to get out like yesterday. We had no idea what we were dealing with. Our management didn't know what we were dealing with. We had to get out, and we had to figure it out just like that. And I mentioned my 25 years here, and the reason I say that is because never before, in all the 23 years prior, have I been so proud to be a member of this team as I have been in the last 2 years, because of the way we responded, because of the way our production crew, our support staff, our producers. And if I tell you, most of these folks in here, most of these wonderful folks in this newsroom, in this room here today, understand the technical difficulties that we face today. When I tell you there was a time, and I'm still amazed by this, there was a time for a long time, Kelly Ring would walk in the TV station, and there was one person in the entire TV station, and Justin was on the assignment desk at night. There wasn't even a director in the control room. And we did that for how many months? 15 months. We were able, so imagine, and that all happened within a matter of 2 or 3 months. And again, I cannot be thankful enough to our entire support staff, our production team, who absolutely pulled off some miracles to figure out how to do this. We learned the Amazon Workstation. That enabled us to log in securely so we could get into iNews. All of our photographers and reporters, they were the first ones kicked out. And every single day, live shots, you name it. They were doing live shots on their phone for many, many months before we streamlined that a little bit more. A lot of times from their balconies, from their houses, from their bedrooms, from their homes, tracking in their closets. It was a thing of beauty to see 5 or 6, 7 months once we got into it. And the way that our staff responded with not a single complaint. At the same time, again, back to production for a second, our newscast, our directors were directing from home. The directors were coding from home. They would alternate back and forth. And there was a time, as amazing as it is, that we had one anchor in the entire building doing several hours of news a night. I think there was a time for about 4 or 5 months that I heard that both Matt and Serbani were doing the entire weekend newscasts completely remote. Shut the doors at Channel 13, lock the building. That's what happened. And I think that's amazing, and I hope you guys do too, because that's how this team responded. But I mentioned Steph, Rick Hardman as well, who retired last year. We thank you, Rick. And Johnny Wright, of course. For us to say, hey, wait a minute, what about this? What could we try this? Never was there a hiccup about no. We never heard, no, we can't. No, we can't. We heard, we'll figure it out. 24 hours later, they figured it out. And again, from a fairly personal perspective, for an anchor who's going to be delivering 2-hour-long newscasts every night, my biggest headache, of course, is going to be that teleprompter. How in the world are we going to figure that out? In 24 hours, I kid you not, I went home with an iPad that night like we have in the studio, and we have the scripts on our iPad. We still couldn't quite line it up with our eyes, line it up with the cameras. It was just kind of, it just didn't work for a day. And then someone in production figured it out. Someone on this team figured out, hey, wait a minute. We're using these Zooms to do our interviews. Why don't we just take our teleprompter monitor, put it on the Zoom camera. So at home, I literally would just dial into a Zoom meeting, teleprompter's right under my camera, and we go. 15 months later, most of the viewers, a huge majority of our viewers, had no idea that many of us were still home. And that is such a testament to this team. It's such a testament to the resilience, the strength, the creativity, the passion, and the heart of so many people that are in this building, in this room here today. And I will forever be grateful for all of that. Still to our editors, we have many editors who are at home. Our master control, I just heard, our main master control operator, you know where he is? At home, still. At home, in his bedroom. Well, we don't want to know exactly where he is, but absolutely from home. And a lot of those technical advances we'll probably continue to use as we evolve in this process. But just a couple of weeks ago, I think most of our staff will tell you, just a couple of weeks ago, we opened the doors fully. And it was the strangest thing in the world for me to come back in after about 15 months. I do want to shout out to Kelly, of course, because for those of you who've ever had to stare into a teleprompter, you get it, you understand. We, in the last 10, 12 years, finally got control of our teleprompters. To give it up, to go home, and to have to read was a nightmare. That was the one thing we couldn't quite perfect. We couldn't quite perfect remote controlling the teleprompter. For 15 months, Kelly Ring ran not only mine, but everyone else's remote teleprompter for every single hour-long newscast. And Cynthia, of course, did as well for many other shows. And so I just want to personally thank you, because I know that's a sacrifice, because there are so many times with our news world moving so fast these days, when you don't have time to look forward to the next story, to try and read ahead. They didn't. We never missed a beat. And I know many would argue, and many have said this, in the last 2 years, we've had some of our best newscasts we've ever had. And I think that's amazing. So, I do want to mention a few more people, and then I'll let you go. Paul and his meteorologist, the entire team, they were all broadcasting all their forecasts from home. And we had some of them with our babies, some of them with dogs. And I know we got to know Brody quite well. Brody had a lot of fun. Brody was amazing. And I think Paul still misses Brody. We're going to try to get Brody back in the studio here eventually.
Was that
perhaps.
hard? Is that a lot of work?
There he is.
Give me a high five. Give me a high five. High five. You can do it. No? No? All right. That's good.
Go figure. A golden retriever doesn't listen. But those were all things that that we were able to make fairly seamless, which, again, I am so proud of. Our web team as well. A lot of them are still producing from home, but they produced from home for almost 2 years. We had the 2020 election. We had a Stanley Cup run. We had a Stanley Cup parade in 2020. All of it was produced remotely and broadcast remotely. I still think we're going to look back on that in another 5 or 10 years and say, you did what? We really did. So we're all very proud of that. So again, we're just kind of now getting back to what we thought was a normal life. We're just now starting to see people again. We're just now starting to get our newsroom buzzing. And when I look back now, I realize how thankful I am not only to be, I don't call this a TV station anymore. I stopped doing that after I saw what we could do during COVID. And I don't tell people we work for the best TV station in the country anymore. I tell people we work for, and I am part of, and I'm blessed to be a part of, the best TV family in the country. And that's the truth. So thank you.
How many newscasts? 500 and how many? 545? So Angela Wilson delivered 545 bourbons during weather? Wow. Yeah. Yeah. The unsung heroes of WTVT. Thank you, Angela Wilson. Guess who left his phone up here? Who wants to go through his photos? It's not who has the mic first, it's who has the mic last.